our podcast, Broker Banter Denver, where we are breaking down barriers to home ownership. I'm your host, Kim Davis, the real estate expert.
And I'm Patrick Williams, the mortgage guy. We're here to inform and educate about the home buying and financing process.
And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about what has changed, if anything, since the Fed dropped the, not interest rates, but
the Fed's fund rate.
Fed's fund rate, thank you. And we're also going to talk about an article that came out from Yahoo Finance saying what the 5 housing markets poised for the best stable growth over the next year are, and we'll give you an update on that.
You're looking pretty relaxed.
Yeah, I just got back from a little long weekend in Cancun.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
We had a great time. I mean, Cancun, there's this hotel resort. They're based in Mexico. They're obviously, but they're like not a Hyatt or a Hilton or American based.
Oh.
Are those American based companies? I think they are, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so this one's called like Taffer Resorts or the Villa Group. Mm-hmm. And so they're a Mexican based company. They're starting to get bigger. They're kind of small, but they do like smaller luxury. I mean, they're big resorts, but they don't have a lot.
But they're nice. You like them,
nice.
right?
And we've been traveling with them since 2018. So
Okay.
they just opened up a new resort, and Jay and I wanted to go try it out.
Nice.
But the funny thing is, it was kind of an accident. Like we booked it, over because they're like, oh, since we've been there so many times, like, hey, we have a new resort opening.
Kind of give you like a soft open, right?
Like a soft opening. Get this great deal. So I bought it thinking, okay, well, I can just cancel it. Well, it was non-refundable. So I had to go on vacation.
You can't just cancel it then.
No, you could just cancel it. But the crazy part is it's called Hotel Musai, 88 rooms. They only had like
88 rooms in the whole resort?
88 rooms, but they're connected to one of their other resorts.
Oh, okay.
So it's adult only.
I like adult only.
Yeah, so like rooftop bar
Yeah.
with a rooftop pool.
That sounds great.
There's no kids. No one was playing pool. But that being said, there was only 10 or 15 people.
Oh, so you had
there.
the whole place to yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds nice.
It was great, but all the workers were there. So, I mean, they have great service anyways.
But even better with...
And what I like about this resort is this is what sold us on it. Not only is it like nice, but the food is
really
amazing.
Good. Yeah.
And a lot of times
That's
when
the
you go out of the country,
especially
the
to all-inclusive,
right.
it's okay.
Right.
But it's not like...
Great. And the food there is like great.
Okay.
It's
maybe if we get a lot of views on this podcast, they'll comp you a room or something. We can join you down there.
We need a lot more.
Seems like a good plug. It seems like a good plug. Last week, my wife and I, we went to Steamboat for the weekend. Yeah. And we did a little bit of bike riding.
Okay.
And
see any leaves changing?
Not really. Okay, so did you say that because or?
I said it because I knew, because you told me that.
Well, what was interesting?
Changing.
It was last weekend. I feel like the weekend here, this last weekend of September that we just came through. We're recording on Monday the 30th.
Right. We skipped a week because I went on vacation.
Yeah, and so, but this last weekend was probably peak. Like it just seemed like all the colors were popping everywhere. So
didn't you
I
go
knew
this
that we
weekend and popped a tire?
We did go up and do a little ride over Vail Pass, yeah. But we went to Steamboat because I knew it was a little early.
Right.
And so I looked at kind of like some color maps.
Right.
And it said north to south. Like, so
that's
colors.
How the leaves change.
Right. So you'll have more color north than you will south. So I was like, well, Steamboat's north. Let's go to Steamboat. Maybe there'll be a lot of color. Right. And it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's still been really warm. I'm ready for like sweatshirt,
I know,
hoodie
we look
weather.
like we're dressed for different.
You just got back from Mexico, so maybe that's why. She feels like it's summer still.
I know.
This is not hot, but it's fall colors.
Right, fall colors. Yeah. That's why we're blue.
Is blue a fall color?
I don't know. It's neutral.
Okay. So we went to Steamboat, and the aspen had like not hardly changed at all. There was like little bits of it.
I'm sorry. I think it's so funny.
It is kind of funny.
Let's go see
it. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it was starting, and like a lot of the scrub oak and the ferns and the underbrush, were orange and changing. So we rode the resort. My wife's like, I don't really feel like pedaling. And so we rode downhill, which was really fun. She's only done that with me like one other time.
Okay.
And that we really had fun doing that.
I
and
saw
then
a picture. She got all the gear, right? She got the pads.
we get her up.
Yeah.
I didn't put her in a full face helmet, but we did get her some elbows and knee pads.
Yeah. She didn't have the chest pad.
No,
or
we
anything like
didn't
that.
do.
You weren't jumping off of
I
bridges.
did one.
You did.
Feature.
Yeah.
But no, it was a relaxing weekend. We went to the hot springs. We went to this really nice restaurant called Laundry, which was like
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same. Is that a Michelin star laundry?
I don't think it's
no,
Michelin
it's not
star.
French laundry.
No,
it's not the French
no,
laundry.
but
Okay.
it is one
Yeah.
of the higher rated
Okay.
chefs
Okay.
in the state. So it was, and they do a bunch of like just little plates.
Right. Did we talk about that? But Colorado has a lot of Michelin star restaurants now.
We do.
Yeah.
We've been recognized. Maybe we should do an episode and go over.
I thought we did, right? Didn't you explain the whole Michelin star?
We
Was
did.
That, yeah.
That it's the Michelin Tire Company.
Right,
Nobody
which-
knew that.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that, but
Yeah.
I think this has happened since that.
Right. Actually,
Yeah, because it's pretty recent.
There were 3 Asian. No, they just did 3 in Colorado.
One was a Mexican place. I know
right,
that.
and 2 Asian. One Vietnamese place and one I think Japanese.
Yeah.
Ramen place. So yeah.
Denver is. I've always considered it kind of a foodie spot. But it's not New York or Chicago,
Right.
you know. So we are starting to get recognized as a place that has really
number
high
one
quality
pizza.
restaurants. Oh, don't go there. We're, you know,
Do you
we're
know
getting
that
ready
that's one
to
of
go to
our
Chicago,
biggest,
though.
That's one of our biggest podcasts.
Maybe we just need to start talking about more controversial topics. Like
I
the
haven't
best
seen-
pizza
I still
is
haven't
in
seen
Colorado.
Dave Portnoy here yet, and you know
We should see if we can get him out here.
he's not gonna go for it.
No,
That's not the
I am.
kind of pizza
So
he
that
likes.
has been, you know, we went to Boston last fall to visit some schools with my daughter, and
Right.
now we're going to go to Chicago in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I was like, we
What's
got to
a
go.
Chicago?
Isn't it? It's like the deep
No.
dish pizza.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Giordano's?
Giordano's, which we
Yes.
have one here in Colorado. But
Right.
here's the thing about pizza companies that people don't think about. When you come up into elevation, right?
doesn't
where we
cook
are,
the same.
It's all
Yeah.
different, right? Dough recipe, it's too dry.
Yep.
Like our friend who moved to Ecuador, she would make homemade tortillas.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that in there, they would just set them on the counter because it was so moist that it would pick up moisture, to where here you have to add more moisture and things.
The elevation and
It
the
does
lack of
change,
humidity,
yeah.
it changes the way
If
you cook.
you are moving here from sea level, I mean,
No.
baking, your
There's-
cookies, your cakes,
there's
they
a-
all change.
I mean, I'm a really good cook because I like make stuff out of boxes, and there's actually a different recipe. You know, if you're making
It
like
says
a
Mile High,
like a
or,
Duncan
you
Hines
know,
or a Betty Crocker,
right.
a high
says
altitude.
high altitude, yeah.
and
Yeah.
so you do have to take it in consideration. I really don't cook out of boxes, but
Or you know what else you have to take into consideration?
What's that?
Is exercising at elevation. I'll tell you what, man, in Mexico,
For
I
your-
probably ran my fastest
wait a minute,
mile.
hold on a second. So wait, you went on vacation for 4 days,
No,
long weekend,
well,
but you
Thursday-
exercised while you were on
Thursday, Friday-
vacation?
Yeah, so Thursday was a travel day. Got
Okay.
there about 4:35. Got our first drinks in us pretty quick. You know, went and explored the new resort, and then we worked out Friday morning and Saturday morning, and then we flew
Travel
back
day
home
was Sunday.
yesterday.
So the 2 days that you were there,
Yeah.
you worked out.
When you don't have anything to do, you know,
should be able to work out.
you
Get a-
should
get
be
a
able to
workout
work
in.
And then especially because you're sitting by a pool. Like
It's-
when we go to a resort in Mexico, like we've done, you know, Isla Mujeres, the, you know, Isle of Women,
The
right?
Island of Women.
We've done that. We've done
I've been
the
there.
sea notes. Is that what they call the little swim sinkholes?
Cenote.
Cenotes.
Yeah.
Sea notes, cenote, whatever, same thing.
I think a C note's like the $100 bill, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're right. And we've done like, you know, we haven't seen the ruins, which I know
I
you
have,
said
yeah.
should do,
I want
right?
to. You know what I think would be really cool is to see it. It's supposed to, like on the equinox. I think you're supposed to go see it on the equinox because of the way that it's positioned
Why?
with the sun.
What does it do?
The shadows project like a snake.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I know, fancy stuff.
I mean, I've been to Ecuador where you can balance an egg on a nail because, you know, like, you know, where you...
Was it remember the broom thing that everybody was doing there for a little while on the equinoxes where you could like stand the broom up, but then everybody realized you could just do it any day? Is that what the nail and the egg
I
is?
remember that.
No?
I don't know. It's something about... Well,
there is something
isn't
about
there
it.
something about like the toilet,
Yeah.
the
No,
water.
It does.
Goes
Well, on the
other
other
way.
side of the equator. Yes.
Right.
It swirls the other way.
Yes. And so
Yes.
Ecuador is right. We went to the equator. So you're right.
Yeah. And the
equator.
days are pretty much it's 12-hour days year round.
Yeah.
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 It's different.
It's cool.
But that's kind of what I like.
What was the point? What's the point of our conversation?
I don't know. You took us down all these rabbit trails. I have no idea.
All right.
So you worked out on vacation.
Worked out on vacation. Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you could really pedal because you were at sea level.
I could run.
So did you work out this morning?
I could run. I did, but I was on the phone, so I just did a walk and talk.
A walk and talk. That's better than nothing.
I had to catch up, and I'm,
Yeah.
Did
you put an earbud in and walk and talk?
Actually, I was holding the phone.
Wow, okay.
And
Did you put it on speakerphone?
And I was actually holding it to my face. And then I just did like a mile walk and 20-minute.
Okay. Well, that's something.
Strength.
Did you get out of breath because you're back in elevation?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So let's talk about this article. Because,
Okay.
I think we've been talking about this. I don't know that this is going to be new news.
New news. New news. Sorry.
Oh, is that somebody? Am I taking that from somebody?
That's the Kelsey brothers.
Oh, yeah. We do not have that copyrighted. So I think we've been talking about how stable the Denver market is and not to expect a big decrease in home values.
Yahoo Finance came out with an article.
And this is the 28th.
Very recent. Yeah, 2 days
the
ago.
28th.
So 5 housing markets poised for the most stable growth over the next year, right?
Yep. So the
And
first
what is
one.
this based on?
Um.
Well, it says GOP Banking Ray spoke with experts to learn how the housing markets that are set to shine in the upcoming months and years. So probably a lot of realtors, a lot of, business people, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, lending. Yeah, there's some lenders in here. There's some different. There's a lot of different market experts that I think have contributed. Each area has its own expert because every area is a little bit different. So this one, the first one, and I don't know if that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. So, but it says the Midwest is number 1.
Yes.
And I think that's just more of a region than, a metro.
Well, it says the mighty Midwest, more than just cornfields. That's
I don't know.
funny
There's a lot of
that's
cornfields out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Kansas. I was born in Kansas, grew up. But it says they've got their eyes on Columbus, Ohio.
As well as Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana.
Right. So that's a lot.
Yeah. And it says that because these areas have higher monthly rents than mortgages, that they are poised to, that makes it easy. If your rent is higher, if you can go in and buy a house and start paying less per month, as long as you can get qualified, that makes it pretty easy.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of the reason that they've identified that region.
But they're really going in on Columbus. Ohio seems to be one that they're saying because, like you said, housing.
That's the number 2. So there was 5.
Oh.
So Columbus is number 2, I think.
So you're thinking the first one is the whole mighty Midwest?
So, if you look, I think that's part of the 5. So, maybe we should
read articles.
Maybe a little bit. It could help. But so the Midwest, they're just saying that whole region is poised to grow.
I see what it is. I'm sorry, I apologize. It's the whole Midwest, and Columbus is one of the houses, right? Yeah. One of the cities,
right?
That is hey, you should move there because, and let's just be honest, right? Most of your most expensive cities sit on the coast. As we've always said, Denver is the most expensive city that is not on a coast, right? Because Chicago is considered a coast, LA, New York.
Correct. Is Chicago considered a coast because of Lake Michigan?
Because of Lake Michigan. Still considered as sitting on a coast. That's why, we are actually landlocked. We don't have any big lakes. We have ponds.
We don't have lakes.
No,
that's one thing we've talked about that we don't have here.
And so, I think they say the Midwest is because, as you can see, as people are moving out, I think, of big cities because it's more affordable. These big cities are expensive, like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Those are expensive.
And there's a lot, There's a lot going on in the city. If you can sell and upsize and get more house.
That's what I think. Yeah, but anyways,
it's probably part of it. So
Columbus.
This person from Fire Damaged House Aid which I don't know what that is. I think it's she's an investor and editor in chief of this publication.
Okay.
So I think it's probably a housing article out there,
Right.
that she writes. She's stating that the Columbus area is experiencing an economic boom currently. The Intel chip
Investors.
factory is a big
Yes.
growth factor, and obviously that's going to bring in a lot of college educated people,
Right.
with pretty good income,
Right.
and so that's always good for an area to get an employer like that.
So if you know anyone that actually does real estate in Columbus, I may look that up and see what housing costs there. Buy.
Kim's looking
Say,
for some investment
I am
properties.
looking for investments. Okay. The next one.
So Columbus, yeah, the next city. Do you want to talk more about Columbus, or are we good?
I'm good.
We want to talk about.
Yeah, we're trying to get down to the list.
Philadelphia is the third.
Yeah.
Second
Not
city,
just-
but third
Yeah,
region.
Not just cheesecakes anymore. Cheesesteaks. Cheesesteaks, not cheesecakes.
I've got to admit, Kim is in rare form today.
What are you talking about?
Who thinks about cheesecake with Philadelphia?
I meant cheesesteaks.
I know you
just
did, but
obviously was thinking about cheesecakes.
I like cheesecake. It's yummy. Okay, so Philly cheesesteak is what it's known for.
The birds. Right? Philly Eagles. They call them the birds.
The birds, the
Yeah.
Eagles. Yeah. I'm not a big Eagles fan.
You know what? I'm not going to lie. I jumped on the Kelsey bandwagon. So I watched, because I watched he had a Hulu documentary called
That started with him at like the
him and his
championship
wife.
parade.
It was no, it started.
Yeah. That's what I turned it on. He was like
really?
talking at the
Yes,
Capitol.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I didn't watch the
It
whole
was so
thing,
great.
but-
So then I became a big
And then you
Jason
started
Kelsey
watching
fan.
the podcast,
And
now
yes.
we're stealing new news from them.
Exactly.
All right, so Philadelphia, why did they identify?
Well, they said the city has undergone remarkable transformation over the last decade. Neighborhoods that were once dilapidated are now restored, and they're, growing.
Columbus
I
Boulevard,
believe they
Delaware
call that
River are
gentrification.
big projects that are going through renovation and making,
So I think they're bringing
area a
people
lot
back
more.
in. Yeah,
Some people would call it gentrification.
I just said that.
Oh,
I
you
said
did?
that. Yeah, you were talking.
I was reading.
Yeah,
talking.
I said I believe that's called gentrification.
Yeah.
But hey, we both got there.
We did. So Philadelphia's poised to make a big move as well.
Yes. So
Okay.
let's skip over that, and so then let's go to the bottom one, which says another one. We'll do.
Oh, you want to go to
Yeah.
the bottom one? Okay, so we're skipping over one. You might be able to guess what market it is. But the fifth and the dark horse of them all is Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yes.
Which is Midwest as well, right?
Yeah, I
mean,
think
I think
so.
that was
Michigan is
mentioned.
considered Midwest, so
Yeah.
Indiana is definitely Midwest.
I believe
too.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, did it say Indiana in that
It
top
says
part?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah, it did. It did
Yeah.
say Indiana up top.
Yeah.
So what's going on in Indiana that they believe that there's going to be?
Well, they said they've been booming for nearly a decade, but this growth has expanded recently with the housing boom.
Oh,
So I think once again, a lot of people moving out there says the green cities, so they must like that.
Eli Lilly, Simon Property Group, and a lot of like racing related businesses with the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, what is Eli Lilly?
That's a pharmaceutical company, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Okay,
I believe
Jesse's nodding
so.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
so
Simon Property Group? Is that just like another?
I would imagine
realtor or,
commercial,
Okay.
or maybe I have no idea. We should look it up. But so those are big employers that have been helping to spur the economy on.
And I think that's what you see, right? These cities that are struggling, they give incentives for big
It's
companies
huge. Yeah,
to come in
and
to
a
bring
lot of
people
people-
into their cities.
and a
Like
lot of
Amazon.
companies are moving
Yeah.
out of the larger metro
Exactly.
areas like California and New York.
Yes. I mean, we saw incentives for Amazon when they were looking at Denver. We end up getting a distribution center here, which, if you guys might think that's great. We might get packages quickly, but we have to pay taxes on all Amazon products now because of that. Remember
Yeah.
before,
No, you didn't have
you
to
have
pay.
to pay state taxes, but since they have a center
Google
here-
is moving to Chicago, I believe.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know if their entire headquarters is moving from Silicon Valley or not,
Right.
but I did see something because we're getting ready to go out there.
Okay.
A lot of stuff pops up in my
Well,
feed.
I know
about
my
Chicago.
husband built one of their headquarters there in
in the Bay Area.
in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
Yeah, but,
Silicon Valley?
Yeah,
Palo Alto?
no,
Where was he? Do you remember?
Mountain View.
Yeah.
Mountain View.
Mountain View.
Yeah.
That's outside of the Bay. That's like
Right.
suburb
It's right
of San
there, yeah.
Francisco. Okay, well,
Okay.
so number 4.
Right.
We skipped it, but the Midwest, we got Philly. We got, what was the other one? Philly.
Ohio, Columbus,
Oh,
Ohio.
and Columbus. Yeah. Denver. Denver, where we currently live. What we've been saying is that, we're in a good position here coming off of
we're
this.
always a market that people want to be in, live in. But what it says here is, and this is their subcategory about Denver, where the housing market is as high as the mountains.
That's pretty high.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Because it's the land of craft beer, which it is true. I mean, so many craft breweries. around
This
here.
was
So if you're a
I mean,
big
I remember
beer
in the
person-
mid 90s when we had Odell in like some of those, first kind of craft brewery. That was before,
Yeah.
long before the big craft
And
brewery.
now there's
boom.
so many small craft breweries everywhere. Like within,
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of miles from anywhere in Denver.
Pretty much
can
anywhere you
find-
want to go.
yeah.
There's breweries in the suburbs, in the middle of the city, out in the mountains. Pretty much every town you go to, you'll be able to find a local brewery where they brew their own beer.
Absolutely.
We have the Great American Beer Festivals here where they judge all of the beer. I'm not.
Right. I've never been, but my brother.
It's supposed to be pretty fun. I have a friend who volunteers.
Oh.
So he gets lots of free samples. That I think is why he likes to do that. But it's also pointing out that it's not just Denver proper.
Right.
It's saying surrounding areas like Golden, Aurora, Lakewood, really the whole Denver metropolitan area.
Correct.
And I probably would even extend that to the Front Range.
Right.
I would
I
say
would
Fort
say-
Collins to Colorado Springs.
That is, yes. I would agree with you. I just did a closing actually in Loveland, which is an hour.
I had a closing
over-
in
yeah.
northern Colorado last month as well.
Over an hour. We just closed that. And I was just talking to the builder up there. It's called Landmark Builders. And
Yeah.
they were amazing. They usually, I mean, Longmont, they're starting to go into Central Park now it's called. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
the old airport name.
Yeah, we're not. You can't say that
Yeah,
anymore.
so Central Park up there
Yeah.
where they're building out there. But he said they're mostly northern. The CEO of the company came in and said hello at closing. I was like, this is crazy.
So,
I love that.
I'm supposed to meet with the builder that we closed with too because it's just
It's a different culture.
it is a little bit different culture up there.
than being in the city.
I like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's very Midwest, I would say.
It's-
right.
it-
I think the
it is.
people are great. They care. You're not just a number. It's not keeping up with the Joneses. It's
Yeah.
very so it's
And
great to go up
they've
there.
done a really good job developing Loveland, Windsor, Fort Collins,
Right.
even out to Greeley. That whole area, they have
it
built
looks
so
great,
much, and they've done a really good job.
They really have. It's but anyways, they're saying the greater Denver has had housing boom for some time, which we really have. This is our first kind of lull.
And it has it been a lull? Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
but no. And the reason for the lull was because of interest rates.
Right.
I mean, that was something that was really out of our control. Every market experienced that.
That's true.
And some experienced it much worse than Denver did.
Right, but they're saying that, some of the reasons why we love Denver is like we have tons of open space, right? We're bike friendly for the most part around
We
most
are.
of Denver.
Yeah, there's trails and
Yeah.
you can go pretty much all over the city.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a sketchy, intersection here or there.
Yeah.
I just went through one recently.
Yeah. There's-
no bike lane, which was weird. And as a Denver person, you're like, why is there not a bike lane?
You're spoiled. That's
Because
why.
we're spoiled.
Yeah.
But a lot of hiking, a lot of, outdoor.
Well, and the job market in Denver is very competitive. We have a lot of different industries here, with a lot of high caliber college graduate type of jobs.
Right.
Like there's a lot of engineering. We have a lot of space program
Yeah.
stuff. Like
we have Lockheed,
Mar-
SpaceX is
Yeah.
here.
Yep. There's more than that
Yeah,
too.
there's a lot of financial institutes, Charles Schwab, TIA, Kraft. I
Yep.
mean, we have, in all markets. And
And now Boulder has become almost a little mini Silicon Valley.
okay.
So there's a lot of different.
I mean, and they're saying that there's
tech
like housing
companies.
for everything. Like if you're looking for the big mansions all the way to the cute, cozy, like, hey, we've been around since, early 1900s, I'm guessing.
Yeah, like your little
You have
Tudor near Wash Park, if you want something like
Wash
that,
Park or Highlands,
or if you want to go south and get into Lone Tree, where you can buy a massive McMansion.
You can also go up a little bit into the foothills or a little bit east, buy some land, and you're still really close to the metro area. So we have a lot to offer.
Yeah, and I think the reason that we just wanted to talk about this article was because we've been saying this really. For as long as we've been doing the podcast here.
A whole 9 months.
Well, which is, feels like we've been doing it for a while now. It just goes to show you that nationally, Denver is still recognized as one of the premier markets. I know builders are doing the best they can. Like your client just bought a new build, my client just bought a new build, but they are not keeping up with the demand.
Correct. Our demand is still low. And I think the reason why we bring up this article is, once again, so that you're not just hearing it from Patrick and I, but that you can see that, hey, as a buyer, if you're still holding on and waiting, the time is now, because let's do this kind of segue. As we talked a couple weeks ago, the Fed lowered.
The Fed cut rates.
Rates.
And we celebrated with a little champagne.
We did.
Which was, we were excited, and maybe it was a little, but it was a long time coming, because
correct.
Those Fed rate cuts were supposed to happen at the beginning of the year based on what everybody was saying this time last year. And we barely got, to the almost the fourth quarter before we got that cut.
And so we were super excited. And so, and we know it made the news, and we know that a lot of people have been asking us personally, like, hey, what happened to rates? What are rates doing? And as you always say, Patrick, what do you always say? Rates are always forward.
Yeah. So the mortgage rates are based off of the
10-year
mortgage.
Treasury.
Yeah. The closest thing to watch is the 10-year Treasury. Also oil. I've been kind of looking at that, and some of the market experts that I follow say you can really watch rates follow what oil does as well. So oil's been down since the Fed has cut.
Yay.
So that's also really good news. Rates have been pretty stable. They haven't really done anything but fell consistently leading up to the Fed.
Correct.
Because we are forward looking.
But we are seeing stuff in the fives, correct? FHAs.
Yes, your government loans are definitely in the fives right now.
FHA, VA, we're seeing those. We're seeing
I have somebody paying some points, but he's getting a low 5 FHA rate. Low, like 5 1/8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, but you can pay points, and maybe you're not going to have to refinance, or maybe
he's not going to have to refinance, and that's why he's like, I'm going to pay it because this is what. And so we are seeing low rates, but I think when we start to see the par rate, if you're not paying points on conventional loans, dip down into the 5. We're close. We're 6 1/4. Right now is kind of where we're sitting. I think when we start seeing those dip into the 5s, which I think before the end of the year, we're going to see that.
And let's just remember, when we talk about rates, we're talking about a paper, which is considered people with great credit, and
every situation is different.
Yes, every situation is different. So we are talking about if like those numbers that you see when you look up, like,
based
hey, what are interest rates?
720 FICO with an 80% loan to value.
So we just want to make sure that you understand that everything is, we are just talking in general terms that yes, they have slowly
and I do
lowered.
Typically, if somebody asks me what rates are, I give a general, but then I say, if you really want me to take a look, every situation's a little bit different.
Right.
So let's pull your credit, let's take a look at your situation, and then you'll have a better idea of where you stand.
And so then today the Fed came out.
They did, and they are committed to continuing to lower interest rates over time, which is good. I do think the key is the labor market still.
Right.
We are seeing some cracks in that labor market. The number that's supposed to come out for new jobs is about 150,000. That number is that's a low number.
Oh,
if that was the number that we were talking about in the first part of this year, that would be a terrible number.
Okay.
So they are starting to see, hiring slow, and the labor market start to come down, unemployment rate start to rise, and I think that's a big reason why they went ahead and did the half-point cut.
Right.
So when we see these labor numbers come out this week, depending on where we're at, I still think there's a possibility that during the next Fed meeting, which is in November, after the election,
we may see another cut.
It's possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is don't wait until November for that cut, because right now a buyer still has the opportunity to buy houses. Now, I've seen the market pick up in the last 2 weeks.
So I have too.
Basically, the Fed did the rate cut and our phones started ringing. My listings that I had warned my sellers, hey, it's going to be 1 to 3 months probably before we sell. Don't get your hopes up for,
first weekend offer type of thing.
Offer.
Yeah.
So we went through, we didn't even make it a week, and we had 2 offers, and which I know sounds crazy when we used to get 10, 20, 15.
No, but
whatever.
I mean, it had been on the market. I think what we're saying is we do see the beginning of the increase in activity already since the Fed cut rates.
So it'll be interesting when we come out with numbers for, September 30th. So we'll have numbers for you probably in a couple of weeks, if not sooner, for September. But I think we're really going to see the pickup in October, like what the numbers really look like in October. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. That's the only problem. Like, I think you and I, we can talk about what it looks like today, right? Because we can feel activity pick up. I start getting more people, hey, Kit, what's it like to get pre-qualified? You start getting people, what's the market look like?
Right.
And
we have
typically doesn't show on paper and as closed transactions for 30 to 60 days.
Right.
So we're telling you the activity is already starting to pick up.
Yes.
We're seeing it. We believe that all of the reports that we'll get over the next 30 to 60 days, I think when we get October's numbers in November, it'll be very apparent that market activity.
And then by the time we come up with those numbers, it could be too late for a buyer who needs some help, right? I mean, it's not that it's a bad time to buy. It's just if you're a buyer who maybe doesn't have a full down payment or you don't want to compete with multiple offers, now is the time. Have you been waiting? Have you been renting and you've been waiting to jump in that market?
Yeah, you still have the leverage.
Yeah, you have the leverage.
Yep.
So jump in now.
Yep.
And and I think that article kind of combined with the rates just shows that it's not just you and me.
It's not just right. I think that's all we're trying to say. Yes. Right. Like we want to tell you we think it's a good idea. Yeah, but it's not just us that's saying it. Right. Now's the time to get into the market.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you found this podcast useful, helpful, maybe a little entertaining, please give us a like, share us. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes.
See you next week.